Hello again and welcome to another episode of I Want to Talk About This Album. And today I'm doing Ratt again. Normally I wouldn't have done two bands so closely together. I did Ratt Detonator, I think it was 3 or 4 episodes ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, something like that. And normally it's not a rule. I don't like to. It's not like I have to keep space between two bands, but I just don't really feel the need to get into another band so quickly after having previously done them not very long ago, if that makes any sense. But I really am in Ratt mode, and there's a couple of reasons for that. One, well, I just love Ratt, period. And the other reason is, Warren DeMartini has recently come back into Ratt world. They're not calling it Ratt, but it is essentially, I guess, as close as we're going to get to a Ratt reunion. And I was a little bit confused. Now, they announced this some months ago. Excuse me. Stephen Pearcy's been touring solo for years and years. And recently it was announced that Warren DeMartini was going to come back. Also Carlos Cavazo, who played on Infestation. So it's kind of a little mini Ratt reunion. There's no Bobby Blotcher, no Juan Crucier, no Robin Crosby. But so basically it's Stephen Pearcy's band minus two guitar players. So they the other 2 guys are gone, and Warren DeMartini and Carlos Cavazo are back. And Blas Elias is playing drums. He's played with Stephen Pearcy for quite some time, I think. Matt Thorne or Thor, I can't remember his name. I think it's Matt Thorne on bass. Anyway, so they announced this big announcement that they were playing this festival in Maryland, the M3 Festival, which is sometime in May. And I thought, oh, okay, that'll maybe be a good time. By that time, I'll want to talk about Ratt. And so I did Detonator a couple weeks ago. And then I realized around the same time, and I guess I knew this at the time, but I forgot, that I guess it was, this is, what have I been, 3 minutes already? The Pearcy DeMartini show at M3, that was the first announcement. But then they announced another show after that. The announcement was after, but the show was before, and that show was at this point, I guess about a week and a half ago or 2 weeks ago or something. And so it was the first Warren DeMartini, Stephen Pearcy show in about 7 or 8 years. And I think maybe around that time, Carlos Cavazo was still playing with him, I'm not sure. But I saw it, and that's kind of got me into Ratt mode too. And I want to talk about that. I'm going to talk about that right now. A little bit, briefly, and I have more to say about this album, Invasion of Your Privacy. There it is there. But I do want to talk about a little bit about, I'm not going to go through track by track about the set list, but I am going to talk about it, the concert. I don't know how they played. I haven't watched any video of it, but I am very interested. So this big, let's call it a Ratt reunion. They've changed it up quite a bit. Stephen Pearcy has been touring for years, and I think he's basically done the same set list. He did a Out of the Cellar special last year, I think a good part of the year, playing all of Out of the Cellar plus a few other hits. So in this show that they played, this was on April 5th, all right? So they did 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm counting the songs that they did from Out of the Cellar. 5, 6, 7 songs from Out of the Cellar instead of 10, which Pearcy was doing last year. But they had some pretty interesting choices here. They did Walking the Dog, which was second, which is kind of strange that they would do that second. That's my only really, and God, believe me, it's not a complaint about a set list. I would love to see Stephen Pearcy with or without, definitely preferably with Warren DeMartini and Carlos Cavazo. There's no way that's ever going to happen, sadly, unless I can somehow win the lottery, which is impossible because I haven't bought a lottery ticket in about 25 years probably. But I thought it was a little bit interesting that they would do Walking the Dog, which they did on the Ratt EP, and they're doing it live now. I'll go through it. So Wanted Man, they opened with Wanted Man. Walking the Dog was second. I Want a Woman third. Man, I love that song. In Your Direction fourth from Out of the Cellar. I'm Insane fifth, Out of the Cellar. And the morning after is sixth. Back for More 7. No big deal here because Pearcy's been playing these songs. Dangerous But Worth the Risk, which is on this album that I'm going to talk about, Invasion of Your Privacy. Nobody Writes for Free. I think Pearcy hadn't done that for quite some time. I love that song. Giving Yourself Away. That's a big surprise. That was from Detonator, which I talked about a couple of weeks ago. I love that song. Way Cool Jr. I think Pearcy has always done that. Over the Edge is number 12. Very surprising. I think that was from the 1999 self-titled. I don't know if they've played that since that album came out or since that tour. Tua, as Paul Stanley says. Lack of Communication, 13. Lay It Down, 14. You're in Love, 15. Round Around, 16. So seeing that, I thought, oh man, that's some pretty interesting choice there. Pretty cool. I'd love to see it. And that is what inspired me to talk about Invasion of Your Privacy today. So that's what I'm going to do. So this album came out in 1985. I've always known that I've been a big Ratt fan, but in more recent years, I'm starting to realize I'm like a major, like they're one of my very top bands. This was their second, in my opinion, their second of 5 perfect albums. Yes, I don't know if there's any band that I like that did 5 consecutive perfect albums. I don't know about that. Maybe Metallica up through the Black Album, but even that I'm not sure about. There were a few songs in that period that I wasn't sure about. But man, this from Out of the Cellar, Invasion of Your Privacy, which I'm going to talk about, Dancing Undercover, Reach for the Sky, and Detonator. That's 5 perfect albums. But I think kind of odd that this one, Invasion of Your Privacy, it's maybe my least favorite of those 5. I maybe like Detonator more than this. And that, I know that sounds negative. What, your least favorite? I'm not saying it's the worst, because that introduces a negative aspect to it. I'm keeping the word favorite. This is maybe my least favorite of those 5 for me, that run of 5 perfect albums. This is maybe my least favorite. I still love it. It's a perfect album. I can't say anything, not even that I can't say anything bad about this album. I can't even say anything that's not perfect. I sound like Kurt Hennig here, but it really is. And I think the reason is, this came out in 1985. I associate this album with the summer of 1985. Now, I don't know when it came out. Sometime, I'm sure it was summer. I would guess June or July, somewhere around there. I remember hearing it in the summer, but I never bought it. I never had this on vinyl until I got this. This, by the way, this comes from the box set, the Atlantic Years box set that came out a couple years ago, and I got it. I'm very happy to have. But I never had this on vinyl in 85, 86, 87, 89. All the time I was buying records, I had it on CD. And I got this out today, and I've mentioned before, I almost always used to put the date on records and CDs when I bought them for times like this. And I'm very surprised to see, or I was very surprised to see, that I bought this on August 13th, 2004. So I don't know, is it possible that I didn't have this record at all? The full album from 1985 to 2004, 19 years it was out until I bought it. I remember it. I knew all the songs. I don't know if it was, my friends had it and I always listened to it. I don't know if I had a tape of it. I used to sometimes tape, if friends had records, I would sometimes tape them, or you taped songs here and there off the radio. And, maybe over the course of some time, including these metal shows, you would get the whole record in various mixtapes. But I don't know, so I maybe never had the attachment to this as I did with Out of the Cellar. And then after, I did get Dancing Undercover, I'm sure, when it was very new, possibly first day, I don't remember. And then Reach for the Sky and Detonator. Yeah, so maybe that's a reason. And also another reason maybe why I never embraced this album, at least at the time. I did like it at the time, but they never played on, I talked about this before, Ratt never played in Toronto. They played there opening for Ozzy. My first concert, the first band I ever saw, was Ratt opening for Ozzy, Bark at the Moon tour, April 25th, 1984, Maple Leaf Gardens. I'm rehashing a lot of stuff here. And then they played at Massey Hall in Toronto in September that year. They never came back to Toronto ever again. And I was waiting for them. I was waiting for this show to be announced. It never happened. Dancing Undercover tour never happened in Toronto. Reach for the Sky tour never came to Toronto. Detonator tour never came to Toronto. So I don't know, but I never had the association with this that I did with some of the other Ratt records, although I do love it. Now, another thing about this record, and remember, this series is called I Want to Talk About This Album, so it's not always necessarily about the track by track, though I will get to that. It's just memories I have of the album and things I want to talk about. I have a strong association with Invasion of Your Privacy, with Theater of Pain by Motley Crue. They both came out, possibly they came out on the same day, maybe a week apart, 2 weeks apart, a month apart. Those albums were what would you call them, bookends or something. They were big albums. I never had Theater of Pain either until many years later. I think I also never had it on vinyl. I only bought it years later on CD. And I want to draw a couple of parallels here between Ratt and Motley Crue. We had, I think, us teenage metalheads in the 80s at that time. We had, and maybe this still applies now, we had these three, there was thrash metal, regular, traditional heavy metal, and this, what you would call hair metal, glam metal, pop metal, whatever you like to call it. And so we had Ratt and Motley Crue, who were, in the eyes of metalheads, kind of in competition. You like Motley Crue. Who do you like better, Ratt or Motley Crue? And who do you like better, Metallica or Megadeth? And who do you like better, Iron Maiden or Judas Priest? Those were the three heavyweight battles of the kind of music that I used to listen to back then. For the record, I am strongly in the camp of, and I like all six of those bands, but it's pretty clear for me, Metallica over Megadeth easily, Iron Maiden over Judas Priest equally as easily, maybe more, and Ratt over Motley Crue equally or more as easily. And Ratt kind of went down, Motley Crue went up, and I'm not exactly sure why. I talked about this a little bit when I talked about Detonator, and I will talk about this a little bit more when I get to the track by track. But listening to it today, and I listened to it twice today, as I normally do when I do these episodes, I like and I've known this for decades, I guess, I like every aspect of Ratt better than Motley Crue. And we put them together because they had very parallel careers, both from LA. They were friends with each other. Motley Crue was in Ratt videos, Nikki Sixx and Tommy Lee were in the video for You Think You're Tough. And, you always saw pictures of them together and things like that. And this was the only year where they both had a record out at the same time, because in so Motley Crue had Shout the Devil at 83. I'm not counting the Ratt EP. Motley Crue had Shout the Devil 83. Ratt was Out of the Cellar 84. They both had 85, the only one, Invasion of Your Privacy and Theater of Pain. 86 was Ratt, Dancing Undercover. 87 was Motley Crue, Girls, Girls, Girls. 88 was Ratt, Reach for the Sky. 89 was Motley Crue, Dr. Feelgood. 90 was Ratt, Detonator. So, it was really cool. You always had either a Motley Crue album or a Ratt album. And at the time, and now, I don't think I've ever wavered, except for 1983, 84. If I took their both catalogs, all the Ratt albums and all the Motley Crue albums, and I was going to rank them, Shout the Devil is definitely number one. I like Shout the Devil more than any Ratt album. But if I went down, I'm not going to do this, but if I went down, my number two, if you combine their discographies, it would be number two, and 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 would all be Ratt, and then Motley Crue would be way, way down there. So I like my least favorite Ratt album. I still like better, which maybe I guess would be Invasion of Your Privacy. I still prefer over my second favorite Motley Crue album, which I'm not sure what that is. I'm just trying to point out how much I like, how much better, how much I prefer Ratt over Motley Crue. Most would disagree. That was why why Motley Crue was and is so much more popular. They had, Motley Crue had more of a tough guy image. Ratt was a little bit more, I think Ratt, were they more popular with girls? I don't know. I think they were both pretty popular. That's a strange thing to talk about. But Motley Crue had the rock and roll lifestyle more, the drugs and the alcohol, the booze and the sex and everything like that, and were more wild. They had tattoos. Ratt didn't have tattoos. Ratt didn't get in trouble. They were good boys. I don't know if it was all that. Another big thing is, and I'll talk about this when I get to the track by track. If I get to the track by track, is ballads. Motley Crue had Home Sweet Home. Ratt never had a ballad single. I think that had a lot to do with it too. But in every aspect, I like Warren DeMartini and Robin Crosby. And to be clear, I don't care about talent. I can't judge talent, and you shouldn't either. It's not up to us to judge talent or creativity or anything like that. I'm only going by what makes me go, fuck yeah, that's fucking awesome. Ratt wins in every category. Guitars, vocals. Stephen Pearcy is one of my favorite singers ever. There's nothing wrong with Vince Neil. Well, not, back then there wasn't anyway. Now, oof. Bobby Blotzer's drumming. Nobody really talks about Bobby Blotzer. And again, I don't care how talented he is or how not talented he is. I just thought Bobby Blotzer's drumming on every Ratt album really, really caught my attention. I love Bobby Blotzer's drumming. Mick Mars. I know a lot of people love Mick Mars, but for me, it was never about Mick Mars. It was about Warren DeMartini and Robin Crosby. Ratt had the great backing vocals, better than Motley Crue. In terms of bass, bass didn't really. I think maybe Ratt caught my attention more than Motley Crue too. But for me, Ratt is up here, Motley Crue down here. Although Shout the Devil is a top 10 in my world, a top 10 record of the thousands of records I bought in my life. Shout the Devil is in the top 10. There's not a Ratt album that's not quite in my not quite in my top 10. But again, as their catalog, for me, Ratt destroys Motley Crue in every way. All right. So I never got this in 1985. I remember it so well, being on the beach, going camping with my family when I was 15 years old, and going camping and listening to or hearing on the radio and taping them. The first single was Lay It Down and You're in Love. And I listened to those all summer. And I like those so much better than Smoking in the Boys' Room from Theater of Pain. Never liked that song. Still don't like it. So I have such a strong association with Ratt. Invasion of Your Privacy from 1985. All right. So now that I've done all these loops, the weave, as one guy at least calls it, the weave. I've done the weave, and now I will talk about Invasion of Your Privacy, the record, going through it track by track. I don't need notes for this. I know this record very, very well. And look at this, look at that. Wasn't this also just the best material when you were 15 years old? Oh my God, I had a couple of pulls to, her name is Marianne Gravette. Oh my God. Delicious. And so here it is. Here's the record. If you want to see the record, not much to see here. There's the inner sleeve from the box set, and there's the record itself. And I think my friend Damien in Melbourne, Australia, he loves this album too. I think when we were at El Chopo together 5-6 years ago, whenever it was, I don't know when that was. I think he also bought this shirt. I bought this shirt at El Chopo 5 or 6 years ago. And I think Damien bought this too. Damien, if you're watching, please, it's very important to know that you bought this shirt too. And I think he bought the Too Fast for Love shirt, if I'm not mistaken. All right, so this album opens with You're in Love. Oh my God. And Ratt, I talked about this before, Ratt singles, nobody, at least from this kind of band, or these kinds of bands, nobody had better singles than Ratt. Smoking in the Boys' Room, shit. I thought that was a terrible single. And a lot of the bands like this, the single or the video was, I think in many cases, quite different from the rest of the album. It was more commercial, more catchy, something like that. I thought Ratt singles were awesome, including You're in Love. That riff, it's so heavy that it's not heavy. It's just that chunky, thick. I'm not describing soup or anything like that, but it's just the perfect tone. In this song, I remember years ago, Gary Holt from Exodus. Gary Holt was talking about at the time, and I'll put this over here, in 1985. The thrash metal scene was burgeoning, I think is the word. And it was pretty uncool if you were into thrash or in a thrash band. It was even less cool to like this kind of music. You had to poo-poo it. You had to thumb your nose to it. And then years and years later, Gary Holt said, yeah, we all secretly loved Warren DeMartini and Ratt. I think he specifically cited how much all the thrash guys secretly loved the opening riff from You're in Love. And that was You're in Love. That was the second single which came out. Maybe that was also out in the summer. I can't remember. But that video was all over. Loved it. You're in Love is a great. It's possible that this song and the not the next one, the next single, Lay It Down, are maybe my two favorites on this album, along with maybe one more. So You're in Love. Oh my God, incredible song. I don't think I ever got sick of that song at any point, and I heard it a lot, voluntarily, involuntarily. I heard that song a lot. Next is Never Use Love. That's the second song, right? Yeah, Never Use Love. I don't want to fight. Again, every song on here, it's 10 songs and it's 10 perfect songs. Just unbelievable riffs all over this album. I don't really associate riffs with hair metal. You associate riffs maybe with more heavy metal or thrash metal for sure. But whether it's Warren DeMartini or Robin Crosby or Ratt, whatever, this album is just full of riffs. I love Never Use Love. Next is Lay It Down. As I said, the first single, another one of the great riffs ever. I don't have a list, but if you talk about hair metal riffs, I think a lot of people would say Lay It Down is the best hair metal riff ever. I can't disagree. I don't know if I would pick that, but oh my God, Lay It Down is just incredible. And also what I loved about this song, during the verses, I know you don't really know me. I love that the two guitars are playing different things, which happened a lot on Ratt records. Not just the rhythm while the solo is playing on top of that, but during the verses. I don't know if I'm explaining this properly. I think a lot of bands who had two guitars, they were both playing the same thing. But Ratt on a lot of songs, Warren DeMartini and Robin Crosby were both playing different things. And You're in Love is an example of that. Sorry, Lay It Down is an example of that. And it has that, and this album has at least 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 or 5 songs like this that have that real kind of Ratt groove. They're not like, I think Lay It Down is not really up tempo, like You're in Love is more up tempo. There's kind of two styles on this record. You're in Love, songs like You're in Love, which are more up tempo rockers, and there are a few more like that. And then the other half are these kind of groove, a little bit slower ones like Lay It Down. Did I explain myself properly? And by the way, this was Ratt at their formulaic best. Every song on this record is, I guess, 3 something. I don't know if there's any song that's over 4 minutes or any song less than 3 minutes. There's no time listed on any of these. I would have to look. I would guess all the songs are probably like 310 to around 350, around there. 10 songs, pure formula, but it's a great formula. Next is Give It All. This is another one that's kind of got that groove, same as Lay It Down. It's not the up-tempo kind of rocker like You're in Love. I don't know what to say. Sometimes, as I've said before, that the albums that you love the most are the hardest to talk about. Give it all. I want to give you all my love tonight. Give it a fashion plate in a way she really was. She had style and class. Is that what it is? She had style and class, understand. She paid a dance. And I never really learned the lyrics properly for this album. I just kind of, make up stuff as I go along. But yeah, Give It All is fucking awesome. Next is Closer to the Heart. Now, I can only think that at this point, either Ratt as band members or Ratt management, they didn't want Ratt to be a huge, mega star band. They were, I guess, content being, second fiddle to Motley Crue. I think if Ratt had released Closer to the Heart, You're One Step Closer to My Heart, if they released that as a single and done a video for it, they would have been up there, with Home Sweet Home and, Bon Jovi obviously had a lot of success with ballads starting the next year, I guess. And Cinderella, this was again a little bit later, Cinderella with Nobody's Fool, Poison with I Won't Forget You, and then later Every Rose Has Its Thorn in 88 or 89, whenever that was. Why didn't Ratt do a video for Close to the Heart? You're one step closer. I listen to you. Are you listening to me the way that you are? It's easy to see. Definitely, this is like the definition of a power ballad. It's got that great acoustic guitar. Back for More is not a power ballad. Don't think just because there's acoustic guitar that it's a ballad. Back for More is a rock song. Close to the Heart, definitely a power ballad, and I love it. So that was the end of the first side. The next side starts with Between the Eyes. This is another one that's more the slower groove song rather than the fast rocker song like You're in Love. Can't you see it burning me right between the eyes? Love that song too. What You Get Is What You Get. What a riff to open that song. Oh my God, it's unbelievable. Another one that's got that kind of Ratt, that classic Ratt groove. Cause it's so easy to forget. What you give is what you get. Love it. The next three, these are all more rock songs. These are more up-tempo, arena fist bangers. Got Me on the Line. This is another one close. I would say one of my hard to pick anything over You're in Love and Lay It Down, but Got Me on the Line is pretty good too. Hello. I guess that's Stephen Pearcy saying that. You hear a phone ring and then hello. What's the opening line? A cock. No, that's Dangerous But Worth the Risk. I was saying. What's the opening line of? And Ratt never had lyrics until Detonator. What's the opening line of Got Me on the Line? I know if you know this, you're watching this now going, this guy's an idiot. He's not a Ratt fan. Why is he wearing a Ratt shirt? He's an embarrassment to the Ratt brand. He probably can't name 4 members of Ratt. Opening line of You Got Me on the Line. Now you think, I can't remember. Anyway, I do love Got Me on the Line, but I love the next song even more. This is maybe my favorite, definitely more than Got Me on the Line. I'm not sure whether I like it more than You're in Love or Lay It Down. It's You Should Know, and then Got Me on the Line ends with Nobody Hangs Up on Me. I don't know if that's Stephen Pearcy too, but it doesn't sound like him, but I don't know. You Should Know by Now. Again, I think that would have been a great single. It's got that middle kind of sing-along section where it's just the drums and the cowbell. You should know by now. You should know by now. Very, and then the hand clap in there. Very, very catchy song. What's the opening line of You Should Know by Now? I'll have my friends forever. We'll walk the sands of time. You should know. Oh my God, I'm really blowing it. My blood is thick. My blood is thicker than water. My blood is thicker than water. I'm living out my life. I'll have my friends forever. We'll walk the sands of time. You should know by now. Very, very catchy. Love that song. Possibly a favorite. And then the last song is Dangerous But Worth the Risk. Cocktails for two, me and you. Cocktails for two, me and you. It's not much I never know. Whenever I'm around, I said, pick up the phone, give a call. She's so hot to have to hold me. She's so no. Now I'm going back to Got Me on the Line. I'm what's the word? Convoluting a couple of songs there. Oh, I need to stop this and start all over again. And was that one that they did? Dangerous But Worth the Risk. Let me check this setlist. There was one from, and that's the last song, by the way, mercifully. There was one song from, it's hard to do this, to stand in front of the camera and just try to think, spontaneously and remember lyrics and not have notes. It was Dangerous But Worth the Risk. Yeah, they did that. That was the 8th song that Stephen Pearcy and Warren DeMartini did. We are dangerous, but worth the risk. Great song. All right, so that's it. I made it through, and I'm gonna get through the rest of the Ratt catalog. I've still got to do Reach for the Sky. No, in order. Dancing Undercover, Reach for the Sky, Collage, the self-titled, Infestation, Those I only have on CD, and I think Collage. I don't know if I have that anymore. I will get to this at some point. And I love them all, except, well, you'll see. There's one. Why am I having such a hard time? My brain is misfiring now. Anyway, I will wrap it up. Thank you for watching. Ratt is just the best. They're really, in my mind. I mean, in my musical world, I'm really having a Ratt renaissance lately. I go through this period every year or so, but it feels stronger than ever this time. And I love Ratt, and I love this album, and it's called Invasion of Your Privacy.